All right. Welcome to the Creatures of the Night podcast. I'm Chris.
And I'm Wendy.
Just like that. Boom.
Done. We did it. Welcome back, guys. Hope everyone is staying safe.
Yes.
So we've said this 1,000 times before, but we record these in advance. It's a couple of weeks is what we're at. So currently, right now, it's March 28th as we sit here and record. The world looks one way right now, and it could look totally different 2 weeks from now when this podcast release. Usually, it's not a big deal for us that we don't touch on current events because it's not really a part of our overall contents of our show, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. A ghost story is a fitting form of entertainment anytime. And I don't think that that's changed.
No.
Totally still a cool thing to enjoy. It's completely natural to be curious and to want to explore, especially things that you don't understand. If anything, so that you don't allow the fear of that unknown to consume you.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. I like that.
Right. So this is healthy and this is natural and we enjoy it.
Yeah.
However, right now, there's some pretty major things that are currently going on around the world. This global pandemic that we're involved in, it's caused a lot of people to have to make adjustments to their lives. I was reading my podcast earlier and I said that out loud and my youngest says, "Not me."
You know, that's the funny thing. And neither for my husband or my son, because video gamers, this is their time to shine, really.
They've been doing this social distancing shit forever.
They're like, stay in and play video games? Why haven't you been telling me that my whole life? Yes, I will.
Golden. And, honestly, neither one of us, we do like to get out and go explore and everything, but we do our podcast via Skype because we haven't lived in the same place for so long. So we don't get out much on the weekends or anything like that. But that's not the only effects that it's having on people. It's not just the social distancing or staying at home is what I explained to my youngest. It's affecting a lot of people financially. And then some people, they really require that social interaction. So it is a big adjustment for them that a lot of people aren't used to and they weren't prepared for.
Yeah.
So I have to admit, it's been incredibly hard for me to concentrate on anything else the past couple of weeks. I've told you that already before. Sorry, this podcast could be shit, basically.
Hey, but I want to tell you something that I did see today that I thought was unique. The social distancing thing. We were driving on an interstate, whatever, and we passed golf course, but I saw all of these golfers with their bags of, golf clubs. What are these utensils? What are these items? And they were clearly 6 feet away from each other. They were walking in a perfect line with a huge gap between them. So I'm like, look, they're out golfing.
They don't want their golf course closed. They're like, I promise you, we will follow the rules. Please. Golfers fucking love it like we love the paranormal. So we're all just trying to show you we can do it. So if you could please let us out of the house, we will adhere to the rules. Though that's not everybody, so that's why they kind of put these rules into place. So personally, my energy level has just been down. I'm fucking drained emotionally and the stress. It's been rough the past couple of weeks, but we don't have much of a choice. Life continues. And just because something pretty fucking scary is happening right now, I would imagine everybody feels that way. We can't just seize up and live in this panicked, depressed state.
Yeah. Have to persevere, right?
There's no other choice. We have to keep every day waking up and doing something with our time. And there's this increased time on our hands, kind of. We're not having to drive to work or we're not working as much. So we should have plenty of time to give you these awesome paranormal interest updates, right? Like podcasts we're listening to or shows you should watch on TV or books that you should read. But like Chris did in her last podcast, nope. I've just been talking to my animals a lot more these days.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, if it's the comfort level or if you're spending more time with and you're like, these fuckers are kind of crazy.
It's the master alchemists that you have around you.
So very much like your podcast, all I could really give you is pet updates.
Nice. Love pet update. I mean, they're friendly. They're awesome. They love you unconditionally. Why wouldn't you want, oh my God, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. I have even been considering getting another animal.
Why not add to the fucking party? And a lot of shelters are getting overrun. So they say, at least. I've not been out to explore this, but I've been seeing it on social media that I guess a lot of people are turning in their pets because they're afraid that they will bring a virus home. Yes. Or that they maybe just can't care for them right now or can't afford to feed them. The shelters here locally in Tucson have been like, please help and foster some pets. Maybe it's not a bad idea for you to grab some more pets while you're at it.
I've been considering it. I love animals. Like I said, they don't want much. And I can tell them about paranormal stuff all day long and they don't get tired of it. They're just like, cool, you just keep petting me and that's fine. Whatever.
Right? They are down for anything if you just give them, butt belly rubs and feed them and play fetch with them. They're digging it. So what I've got for you is I've been letting my cat out on the back patio, supervised, of course.
Yeah.
She hasn't made it past the patio table, but she totally digs it. And she loves me most of all of everybody in the house because I've been allowing her to go outside, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Also, this morning, I watched Rose, that's my lab. I watched her eat ash from the grill because, like I told you, she will fucking eat anything. There's no stopping her. I also play a lot of fetch and keep away with her because she is the most playful of the bunch. And we have the best times, like running around the furniture and like nobody plays with me like she does. She's like a toddler, though she's a, 5-year-old lab.
Oh, I love labs. And I love that you're saying that she's eating ash from the grill. She's like, what is this gourmet deliciousness I am feasting upon? Meanwhile, you're like, is that dog licking ash off the grill?
I totally took a video of her before I stopped her. Before I opened the door and go, hey, stop it. I have bacon for you. Just get in here.
She's like, oh, but I was so close to being done. Oh.
These hamburger juices left behind are so delicious.
Every morsel. Yeah, that would be my dog if she could reach the grill.
So, and then I have a pointer. He's totally full of himself. I have intense conversations with him, and he couldn't be more annoyed.
Oh.
All he wants is butt rubs from me, but I still bug the shit out of him because he is my favorite of the three.
Aw.
I think the ones that resist me the most are the ones that I love the most.
Yeah, that's like me with my cat. She really doesn't like it when I pick her up and tote her around the house, but you know what? I love it.
So yeah, like you, that's pretty much how I'm spending my free time is exploring the life of these pets some more. That's about it.
That's what we got. Well, I mean, animals bring happiness into our lives. They're not affected by the COVID-19. They don't have to deal with it. As a matter of fact, they're either annoyed that we're home more often or excited because there's possible more cookies or butt rubs, coming their way.
I get to let them in and out the back door, even though they have a dog door.
Yeah.
That's on the other side of the house. But nope, that's not good enough. I get to let them in and out of the back door, and now the cat as well, as much as they possibly could stand in a day.
Yeah. When Nemi was with us, she was definitely a patio cat. I have a swing, which I'll be bringing back now that it's going to start getting nice again. And she would come out and sit on the swing with me.
Aww.
Yes, I have a lot of pictures of her she would just sit there. She was totally cool as long as she was out there on the patio. My other cat, however, is terrified of the outdoors. She knows of those flying demons and she doesn't want to be anywhere near them. So she will not go outside whatsoever. And Pandora, I mean, I don't know what her backstory is. When we got her in Nutbush, Memphis, Tennessee, she was terrified back then. And she has always been a skittish, terrified cat. Demi was a complete opposite. She came from the outdoors and she's just like, why won't you let me be the free beast that I was meant to be? She wanted the outdoors. She's like Winter. Winter's like, all of this, like, what is it? Aladdin. That's what Winter is. I can show you the world.
It took her a long time to get there. I mean, she's only 3 years old now, I guess. At first, she had no interest, but, the more she got to sit, like, in the window and feel the breeze, she was just like, I see what these dogs are doing. I think I can do it. But like I said, she hasn't made it that far out on the patio. She is heavily watched when she is doing this because in Arizona, it's not a safe place for cats to just roam.
Yeah, that's true.
But she totally digs it, and I know she appreciates it. She screams for it, actually. You know, when I'm like, okay, that's enough. I don't have time to watch you all day. Get in the house. And then like 5 minutes later, she's at the door with her deepest meow that she could belt out. And it's like, calm down. You're being a monster.
Meanwhile, she's like, how could you? How could you? How could you?
Right. That's exactly what it sounds like, too. And she just looks at you and she's just like, I will not survive if you don't let me out there. You're only going to go underneath the table. Like, do that in the house.
Cats are cool. I love them.
Yeah. So that's, I'm assuming that's all that we have worth discussing that's going on in our worlds right now. And if you are okay with it, we can just push on to a story.
It's good, but I could talk animals all day long.
I know. You know, along with our movie podcast, that's those would be our spinoffs.
Ooh, yeah. Okay.
So for my story this week, I thought that I would try to share something a little lighter, given the state of the world. And recently, before the whole country was on lockdown, I was lucky enough to sneak in a camping trip to none other than one of the most beautiful places on earth, Sedona, Arizona.
It is beautiful. And I just shared a ton of your pictures. You should have told me. I would have waited.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I've got some other areas for us to explore as well. But I did want to speak on Sedona for people that have never experienced it or heard of it.
Where have you been, Sedona? It's beautiful.
Sedona is a popular destination for rejuvenating retreats, thanks to the beauty of its natural red rock structures and abundance of spas and wellness centers available, which sounds magical, right? If you were a millionaire with no children. However, that is not either of our lives.
That's right. My kids keep getting in the way of all the millions that I would have laying around.
Right? Totally got those kids, and neither of us are probably near being even thousandaires. So we experience Sedona in a different way, but we can still appreciate its amazing landscape. There's canyons with awesome hiking trails, which I love and adore. And they have little forest areas here and there where you can smell the trees and listen to the running water from the little creeks. And they happen to have healing spiritual vortexes. Right about now, I could use a daily dose of that positive vibe.
Right. Me too. I love that you're doing something about spiritual vortexes, and I just did a story about vertexes.
Yes. The whole time I was like, we are like the same, but like opposite directions.
Right.
It's so funny how close it was.
Always.
So because we're not allowed outdoors, basically, we have to settle for a virtual tour of these powerful locations. So let's talk about these vortexes, as it's not something everyone believes in. And for those who don't, you may even ask, what's a vortex? Well, a vortex can change meaning depending on who you're speaking to, as it's not an exact science. But the Sedona vortexes, and many like them, are simply described as swirling centers of energy coming out from the surface of the earth. This energy is not exactly electric or magnetic, although in some places it does leave a slight measurable residual magnetism in the places that it's the strongest.
You are speaking my language. I am there with you.
I want to go to there.
Man, yeah, I love Sedona. God.
The energy that exists at these locations interacts with who a person is inside. It resonates with and strengthens the inner being of each person that comes within about a quarter to half a mile of it. So precise.
So it resonates with the energy within you. So what if you're like dark and sinister on the inside? Then does it just, you become the Sith Lord if you're there in one of these vortexes? Wow. Sweet.
It can have that negative effect on you and, well, the environment around you, because it kind of empowers your shittiness. So
dang.
Luckily, most of those people, I guess, don't visit Sedona. They're like, not buying that bullshit. Maybe we just let the secret out. If they listen to our podcast, they'll all be heading there. Now we'll have Sith Lords all over the place. But there can only be one, right?
Yes, me, when I get there. Dark side, blah, blah.
Okay, so this connection occurs because the vortex energy is very similar to the energy operating inside each person. If someone is at all a sensitive person, it is easier for them to feel the energy from these vortexes, and it can be an uplifting experience. That is, if they're a good person. The energy absorbed in this way has a positive effect. It could last for days. That's why people love going there so often for these retreats.
Yeah.
Although all of Sedona is considered to be a vortex, there are specific sites where the energy is more intense. The 4 best-known Sedona vortexes are found at Airport Mesa, Cathedral Rock, Bell Rock, and Boynton Canyon, though there are several others.
I gotta ask you, so with the vortex, would it also have the possibility of making you feel sick, like electromagnetic fields? Like if you're sensitive to that sort of thing, could you also...
Yes, you definitely could, because it's giving off that energy. Though what I read is none of the Sedona vortexes do this to you. It's only if you run into a negative one. Now, how it distinguishes between the positive ones don't make you sick, but the negative ones do, I don't know. It seems like any high electric, magnetic field, if you're sensitive to those things, could make you sick, whether it's a positive or negative energy.
Okay.
But yes, they did say that they could. They just mostly said it in terms of the negative vortexes.
I wonder if they're like watching out of their windows, like looking for the ones that get sick. They're like just waiting to see who's evil coming to their vortex.
That's
Is it
how
this
you
one?
know.
Yeah.
Maybe. Each of these vortexes radiate its own particular energy. Some are thought to produce energies flowing upward, while at others, the energy spirals downward, entering the earth. At some of these sites, you will find Jupiter trees, all twisted in shape, and that is believed to be by the strong energy flow. Have you ever seen one of those?
No, I haven't.
I'm going to send you a picture of this shit. This is just for my own personal sharing with you.
Okay.
There's no ghost in it.
No, that's fine.
But that's a Jupiter tree. They're really cool looking. They don't all look this cool, but that's what they're talking about. It's all twisty built like that because of the energy flow.
Oh, cool. Wow. I mean, honestly, I'm just saying this doesn't look like something anybody would take a picture of. It looks like it was made just for art, like somebody drew it instead.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
The upflow areas are called masculine, are electric. Those are Bell Rock and Airport Mesa. These sites help you with reflection and feeling one with the universe. Visitors often note feeling a reduction in stress and the lowering of their blood pressure.
Ooh.
Pretty nice, right?
That's nice.
The inflow areas, also called feminine or magnetic, are Red Rock Crossing. That's found within Cathedral Rock. This site helps you look inward for introspective prayer and meditation. It's also particularly useful for healing scars from the past. The flowing water at this site helps you release old wounds and nurture new growth.
What do you gotta do? Like stick your leg in there that's got the scar on it?
I think they're emotional scars.
Oh.
I wish the parking wasn't so terrible at this one. I'd hit this up. It's always full.
Check this out. Speaking of dogs, I forgot to tell you this. I decided to give mine a haircut. And because I'm an idiot, I decided to also cut a chunk of my finger off. My middle finger. I'm not flipping you off, but it's such a deep, deep cut. It still hurts.
Yeah.
I did this a week ago. It's going to be a huge scar. Like it's puckered up quite big. So I would like to stick my hand in that nice healing water or any water at this point because everything's closed, all the beaches. But yeah, just so don't cut your dog's hair. Don't be like me.
It's too late for this, but you should have got like some butterfly band-aids or something. That looks like it could have used a couple of stitches or at least one.
I think it probably, I probably should have gotten a stitch. You know what I did? Because I haven't used Band-Aids how could the most clumsiest person in the world, I haven't used any Band-Aids in so long that when I went to use my Band-Aids, I didn't realize that these deteriorate over time.
Oh, yeah.
So I couldn't. I had to use like the cotton, like which you use to like take makeup off. I had to use that with gauze and I just wrapped my finger, which, did the trick because you couldn't like bleed through that. But when I had to pull the cotton off,
yeah, it's all in the wound. And now you're going to have a chunk of your finger missing.
I do. Yeah. So anyway, sorry to interrupt you, but I forgot to tell you that.
No, I totally get it. You need some of this healing water.
I do.
So then there is the combination sites. They're also called electromagnetic, which are found in other parts of Cathedral Rock. There are other trails. And then Boynton Canyon. These sites have multiple energies that allow you to do more advanced spiritual work, both body and mind. They bring like a strong spiritual balance, the yin and yang.
Did you bring any of your crystals there to like soak up any of this amazingness, or did you buy any crystals while because they have got to be like the most powerful crystals in your collection if you get something from there, right?
Well, I told you this off recording of how I collected some sand. Pretty sure you're not supposed to do that. Also, like to take rock and wood from these places. So no, I just kind of free for all collect. You know, I don't focus on the crystals as much. Though the first time that we ever visited Sedona, it was a couple of years ago, we went and I did bring my crystals and wore them and went to the Bell Rock vortex. But this time around, we hiked just around the bottom of that vortex. I didn't have any crystals with me, though I did collect some items. I like to do that.
Yes. Your necessary foraging is what I like to refer to it as.
There's so much of it. I'm sure no one will notice.
Speaking of necessary foraging, I found just like a week ago when I was preparing for my trip, my slice of the myrtles that I didn't realize that I had apparently hidden away from myself.
That's like that black sand I told you about that I collected and don't remember it's still in the car. So
our necessary foraging that we were like so amped up about. And then we're like, yeah, it'll sit in this bag for a year or more.
It's always nice to rediscover it, though.
This is true. It's almost like finding money in your pocket. When I found it, I was like, oh, this is going on my altar right now. This is probably what I've needed this whole time and why my magic has not been working. So we'll see.
Maybe it comes back to you when you need it the most.
Fingers crossed. Well, at least these two are, not the ones that are destroyed.
Not your broken ones. So as amazing as these healing and empowering vortexes sound, it's not like they are exclusive to the Arizona high desert. No. Energy vortexes can be found anywhere around the globe, from the English countryside to the Great Pyramids of Egypt. Many of these vortexes, like the Sedona vortexes, are reported to bring feelings of peace, harmony, balance, tranquility, while others are believed to promote personal reflection, deep insight, and a clear mind.
That sounds beautiful.
It's everything that I need.
I know. Take me there to Sedona right now. God.
Any of these vortexes, please. I need it. Others still act as powerful centers of physical and emotional rejuvenation.
Yeah.
One thing common to almost all energy vortexes is their ability to make visitors feel more connected with themselves or to something greater, whether that be their faith or just the universe itself.
Yeah.
So I'm going to share with you a few other magical vortexes, though it is not a complete list. So if you're like, I have a vortex down the street from my house, you know, or whatever, it's not on the list because we can't be here for 8 hours. I mean, we could. What else are we doing? But
right.
I summed it down to a few very popular ones, as well as a couple I've never heard of before.
But if you do have a vortex, like, you know, in your backyard, then you've got to be one hell of a happy person right now. Just saying.
Fucking Bayman. Well, you're not allowed out of the house in most places. So once you are allowed out of the house, I know you'll run straight to any of these locations are the vortexes that you know of.
That's right.
So first I want to talk about the town of Glastonbury in southwestern England.
Wow.
Which is home to several ancient and medieval sites. These sites include the Glastonbury Tor, which is a tower, and the Glastonbury Abbey, and the Chalice Well, all said to be connected by spiritual highways of energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ley lines.
The meeting spots give off a strong sense of peace and balance. The Chalice Well is surrounded by beautiful gardens and orchards in which visitors can experience the quiet healing of this sacred place. For over 2,000 years, this has been a place where people have gathered to drink the waters because they think they're magical and find solace, peace, and inspiration.
Wow.
The Chalice Well is among the best known and most loved holy wells in Britain.
Wow.
Mostly due to this legend that Joseph of Arimathea buried or washed, one or the other, the cup used at the Last Supper, a.k.a. the Holy Grail, which
Stop it! No!
I'm not joking with you. I don't know how our brains do this. But yeah, your story from last week, and we record these at the same time, your story is kind of similar to mine. So it's really weird.
You must have been like, when I was telling my story, like you were really biting your tongue, like,
I knew you weren't going to jump from Italy to this place, but I was like, that's fucking crazy.
That is crazy.
So it's believed that Joseph washed or maybe buried, I guess just threw it in there. And that's why the water's holy and it's been a place of like spiritual pilgrimage.
Wow.
For others, the water is simply acknowledged as the essentials of life, a gift from Mother Earth to sustain its living forms. And so a continuous spring like Chalice Well is a direct expression of an unbounded life force. Now, the myths associated with Glastonbury Tower are out of this world. They're crazy. They're wild. This is our place to hang out. It's been called Magical Mountain, a fairy glass hill, a spiral castle, a grail castle. Guess they thought the grail maybe was there too. I don't know. The land of the dead. I didn't even find an explanation for that, but I'm on board. It's believed to have been a druid initiation center, a center for goddess fertility rituals and celebrations that I can sit out.
Yeah.
But get back on board for this. It's also a converging point for UFOs, which have been reported sighted in the area over the years.
Wow.
This is not surprising given that the 500-foot high hill is the most striking and impressive landmark visible in the area. And you can see it from like a vast distance. But yet, like at some angles when you're up close, you can't see it at all, as if it's like disappeared on you for a second. Today, you can see locals and visitors coming up the tour. You have to like walk a really long way to get up to it too, by the way.
All right.
So these are dedicated people, and they come any time of day, any weather to perform their rituals, meditations, and to connect with the gentle healing energies of the hill. I'm going to send you also a picture of this place because you've got to see this shit.
I mean, I was just, thinking, maybe Skechers for this, but I mean, maybe I should lean more towards New Balance or something. It's a lot of walking.
A comfortable shoe for sure. I don't think a hiking boot is necessary though. It's England, so they get a lot of muddy weather.
Yes.
I think I saw some kind of steps that kind of lead up to it though. So I think it's just a good comfy tennis shoe.
That is beautiful.
Is that not ridiculous?
The one you sent me with the rainbow in the background.
It's just to make it more magical.
Yes. Hold on. When they took this picture, they were just a little too much to the right because they missed the unicorn that I'm sure was also standing right there.
Yes. About to land on the hill.
That is beautiful. Oh my God. We're in Great Britain. Is that what you said?
It's in England. Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I have to see this place now. I never knew of this place before. This is crazy.
So you go there and you can also see aliens.
Yes.
Done.
Fucking fairies, druids, aliens. I'm there.
But allegedly in Maine, you can see moose. So you're going to have to produce some aliens.
Yeah, there is that. Yeah. I drove through the Grand Teton National Park looking for some moose.
What did you see?
Sadly disappointed. I saw fucking mountains in the distance and a lot of fields.
I mean, those are pretty, but they're no moose. They're super elusive.
Nope. They're like, oh, you know where you see the moose the most? On the path that has a bear active in it right now, so you can't go there. Oh, how convenient.
I see deer almost every day, and I'm like, the deer are active and they're making themselves known. Where's the moose? There's signs everywhere. Watch out for moose on the interstate. I don't see anything about watch out for deer, yet there's hundreds.
They're fucking larger than life. I mean, like, moose are so big. So what are they afraid of that they have to hide? It's like fucking Bigfoot. I mean, like, you're the biggest thing in the forest. You could handle anybody that comes up. Why are you hiding?
No kidding, man. Unless the aliens are for real and they know. They're the only ones. They're like, look, those stupid ass deer. Didn't they see what happened the other day to Wilma?
Oh, Wilma. Aw. So now while the tour screams supernatural powers all over it, the Glastonbury Abbey has held a prominent and sacred position in the Christian world. Still today revered as holy grounds, the Abbey ruins, they're just ruins now, are the site of the first Christian church in Europe and are reputed to be the burial site of Joseph of Arimathea, the Virgin Mary, St. Patrick, and King Arthur. All the rock star Christians are buried here.
Mm-hmm. We know that goes back way, 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 way back.
Way, 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 way.
Way, way, way. Wow.
Legends claim both the Holy Grail.
Oh, wait, you forgot to mention me.
Get out of here.
Okay, sorry.
Legends claim that the Holy Grail and the Ark of the Covenant were kept in the Abbey grounds, and the most powerful location on the Abbey grounds is the hollowed Lady Chapel, and this heavy stone altar was placed in the exact center of what is named the Michael and Mary vortex.
Wow.
And it radiates bright teleurotheic energy. That means earthly.
It radiates a bright earthly energy. So something that you could see, I suppose.
Oh, I don't think so. But
Oh.
unless you'd be tripping. So but you can sense it.
Ah, do you have to be sensitive though?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think it's pretty powerful that ordinary folks, but I also don't think that many ordinary folks are going there to feel the vortex. So it's probably us crazy sensitives that are like, I'm going to get some of that shit,
Yeah, okay. All right. Okay.
It's said that as you move from the first vortex to the middle vortex to the final vortex, that the feeling of energy is said to move upward in your body from your stomach to your heart to your head.
Wow. Yeah. Like your chakra, right?
Right.
Okay.
So you got to go to all three of them.
Done. Okay. Yes, I'm writing my list right now.
So next we're going to talk about Asphodra, which is a huge limestone rock jutting out of the Mediterranean Sea off the coast of the Spanish island of Ibiza. It towers more than 1,300 feet above the sea, and legend has it that the rock is the tip of the sunken city of Atlantis.
Oh, neat.
Which, that's a podcast story for another time.
Yeah, right.
Can't explore that right now, guys. However, you should know that this rock has a powerful magnetic field, which is said to leave compasses spinning and even birds disoriented. In fact, it has led to claims that Asphodra is the third most magnetic spot in the world, only behind the Bermuda Triangle and the magnetic North Pole. Also, another podcast for another time. Mm-hmm. So why would I torture you and bring up a location that we can't completely dig into? Or we sit here for like 14 hours discussing it? Well, it's because I just want to point out that Asphodra is made of limestone, similar to the other powerful and energetic spots like the Egyptian pyramids, Stonehenge, and the Mayan ruins, all of which are on my list of vortexes.
So what about the Easter Island heads? Don't play into that at all?
So they do, and they're just not on my list.
Okay.
Like I said, there were so many, and I was running out of fucking time because I wait until the last minute on things. Easter Island's totally on there. There's a cool, mountain that almost looks like the Sedona Mountains in Australia. It's called Ayers Rock, but it goes by a different name that's associated with the tribe that used to be there.
Yeah.
There's also Machu Picchu.
Yes.
In Peru. That was one that was brought up a lot. it doesn't just stop with these places. And we could talk about them all day if you want, but just trying not to put you guys to sleep and just hit on the big ones. But yes, Easter Island was on the list of vortexes. What happened to Easter Island just recently?
God, I was crying. I love Easter Island. It's definitely one of the places that are on my bucket list. A man had parked his vehicle and it went out of the parking brake, I guess, and just crashed into one of the Easter Island heads.
Fuck.
It's like one of them is no longer there. Oh my God.
Don't mind me, dude. I've just been here for, thousands of years. Just run it over, why don't you?
I know that's what I said. So I got it. Of course, actually, my husband sent it to me. And, I posted it to Twitter immediately because I'm like, I can't fucking believe this. It's almost like, I lost a limb. I'm like, my heart has just been ripped out of my body. But I come home and I'm making dinner and my husband comes home and he's like, do you see that thing I sent you? And I was like, oh my God, why was he even allowed to have his fucking truck anywhere near those things? And my husband's like, calm down. I mean, it wasn't his fault. It was a total accident. And I'm like, yeah, but still, you can't replace it. It's not like you're sighting on your house. It's not. I got super emotional about it because I love the Easter Island heads. And I don't know if you know this, Wendy, maybe you do. I have an Easter Island tissue box at my desk and the tissues come out the nose.
I think you sent me pictures of your office before and I have seen that. Yeah. Yes, Easter Island is one of them. I left them off my list because, I shouldn't even put a Phaedra on here because this is going to be discussed later. In the future of this podcast, it's got to be brought up again. And Easter Island is one of those, that you'd love to dive into deeper.
Yeah.
So I was giving you just this little skim of some of these locations, and we can always explore them later.
Oh, yes. Our podcast is basically like Ancient Aliens. And that show's been going on for how many seasons? Yeah, they keep talking about aliens and stuff, but they got other places to visit. That's like us. We got some paranormal stuff to throw in there too, but mostly travel.
It's true. So back to Phaedra, just real quick to talk about this limestone. It is believed to hold like the maximum possible concentration of energy. You're not even supposed to go onto this island anymore. You have to get permission to go onto it. And it's just because they're trying to preserve it.
Yeah.
Visitors that have made it to the rock or even on the other side of the rock on the mainland, just looking at the rock, have experienced healing and inspiring energies through powerful meditation. So let's touch on some of those legendary locations I just mentioned, like Stonehenge. I imagine your favorite from the list. This is kind of brief, to be honest. And like I said, we can explore this later, but Stonehenge is much of a mystery. So I'd love to hear what else you might like to add to it later. As for factual evidence, it is a famous and mysterious ancient site. Scientists have figured that its construction dates back to 5,000 years ago, though the purpose of the construction remains a mystery. Many people believe because of the spiritual energy that resonates there, that the stones must have acted as some sort of ritual grounds or burial site, possibly of giants. Let's just throw that out there.
Yes, I believe that the giants had dinosaur pets, and that was a big water bowl at one point in time.
I cannot wait to hear your podcast on Stonehenge. Despite numerous theories which claim Stonehenge to be anything from an ancient observatory to a Druid temple, little is actually known of the true origins or purpose of the mighty circle of stones. Though many visitors report feeling a powerful energy there, and there's a lot of people that love to go there with dowsing rods, and they just go fucking nuts there.
I wonder if anyone has gone there with like a Frank's box or a shack hack. Do they even still use those? Instead of the dowsing rods, which they're just, the two little metal rods, if you've never seen those before. And a lot of people in the 1700s, maybe they would use it to find water. Maybe I'm off on my...
Nope, that's exactly. It's just like if you use a EMF detector, like the old ones, the trifilmeter.
Yeah.
Those were tools for like plumbers or electricians. These dowsing rods were like, plumbers of those days. It's how people found the water source so they can build their well.
Yeah. So I wonder if I assume, but I've never looked into it, that other people have gone with different techniques, like, the echo box or something, to see if there's any kind of voices that come from there. And they're just like, get away from my pet's dish, 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 something.
I don't know if you know something different about it, but from what I saw in my brief week's research of this, you have to get permission to go there. They have events there where they'll let large groups out. So I don't know if there's a lot of people like ourselves that are getting that permission. They might only allow these people that are going there with kind of different methods. I don't really know.
I do know that there are other areas nearby, kind of like, just kind of stepping back to the podcast that I did last week. You have to know some guy that knows some guy that'll like take you on the tour. But there are other areas that are Stonehenge-like in the same vicinity. So there's other like rock formations that are similar. That's not just Stonehenge, which I thought was super cool. It's almost like back to the aliens and crop circles, or the things that you see on the mountainside, like these things that are unnatural or unnatural to our size human beings. We couldn't have just done it ourselves. How did it get there? So yeah, I totally love the Stonehenge thing. Clearly, I'm one of those.
And Glastonbury is actually not far from this.
Aha. Well, it's got to be on the ley line, right? That's what you mentioned earlier.
Well, yeah, of course. And I think the pyramids fall on that and then all that stuff too.
Yeah.
But I mean, like geographically, they're not that far from each other either. You could drive there.
Okay.
So next, let's talk about those pyramids that I just mentioned. This is the Great Pyramid of Giza, one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the oldest and largest of the Egyptian pyramids. The pyramids were constructed approximately between 2550 and 2490. I've got BC on my paper. You just did something way in the way back. What do I say? Common Era?
No, that's before Common Era. If it's BC, it's before Common Era. So CE is replacing AD, and BC replaces, before Common Era. So it's, but there's another, whatever.
Let's stick with BC. I imagine there's a lot of people our age listening to this. I'm sorry if that's wrong. So this is when Egypt was one of the greatest powers of the world. Russian physicists have actually found that within this pyramid, there is a concentration of electromagnetic energy inside the chambers of the pyramid that they could not really explain. Making you wonder, did the Egyptians build their pyramid around this energy field, or did they have no idea what wonder lay beneath them?
That seems suspicious.
Exactly. So many believe the pyramids contain 2 portals, which are doorways to other dimensions. So it's right to be suspicious of these people.
We should be in Egypt right now then, right?
One of these portals is for astro travel, and the other is for extraterrestrial contact.
Ooh.
Calling them up. ET phone home.
Phone a friend.
Yeah. What's going on
ET?
in your planet?
Why don't you swing by, grab a pizza on your way? We'll watch the game.
We can't watch a game because there's no sports playing, but...
Wait, did you see that thing about ESPN Ocho?
No.
They're going to do like the craziest. They're going to do like dodgeball tournaments, marble tossing tournaments, like tic-tac-toe, like the most ridiculous things that shouldn't be sports. But, you can't do like close contact sports. So they're going to do some bullshit. It's based off of the movie Dodgeball. So like they're doing like...
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's funny.
They're trying to stay afloat like all of us.
But honestly, I've never had any reason to watch ESPN before. Now I do. They should have these marble tossing sports on more often. I'm totally watching this.
Agreed. So the energy vortexes that surround the pyramid apparently are the result of the portals. Many people that walk around the pyramid structure have noted the feeling of strong energy forces.
Wow.
It said this is a good place for recalling a past life or expanding your spiritual growth.
I like either.
Yeah. Of course, Egypt would be a good place for your past life. Isn't that where, like, it feels like all the shits began?
Did you ever watch, I'm sure you did, Sesame Street, right?
Yes. I've heard of it.
What is this show you speak of? So my favorite was always Ernie when he was the Egyptian. It was always super creepy to me. And my husband and I talk about this all the time. Apparently, this was both of our fond loves of our childhood. But Ernie would have the Egyptian like cat eye, or I guess it's not, but the line drawn.
You. Yeah.
And he would be the creepiest Muppet ever with his eyes. As a youngin', I really found a love of Egypt because I was super creeped out by Bert and Ernie.
My interest in Egypt came from the movie Mannequin, which is weird because
Really?
I hate fucking mannequins.
I know you do. That was such a good movie.
Such a good movie. Like,
Yes.
I would watch that again right now in my quarantine.
Like the other day, because I listen to 80s music nonstop. And my husband, he the other day was like, well, let me put on some music. What do you want to hear? And I'm like, 80s. So he doesn't listen to 80s music like whatsoever, but he goes to YouTube and it just plays a playlist, but it's playing the video. So we both got to see that. I haven't seen it in a while. He'd never seen a lot of these videos, but he's just like, these are the stupidest fucking videos. I'm like, it's the 80s. They're not stupid. So we just saw this like just the other day too.
That's crazy. My youngest, I don't know where he comes from. When I was young, people used to tell me, you have an old soul. Well, he obviously, out of my two children, he's the old soul for sure. One day we were in the car and he goes, I don't even know why people listen to current music. It's all trash. He's 13, guys. It's just like, what are you talking about? He loves that song though, Walk Like Egyptian.
Yes. Oh, the Bangles. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I used to skate to that at Skateland and Rockin' Raleigh. So
little throwback to
Yeah.
our Memphis peeps that are listening.
yeah.
Do you know I saw Jerry Lawler at Skateland
What?
one time?
No freaking way.
Yeah.
Jerry the King Lawler.
Oh, yeah. I actually, because I was a tomboy, I don't know, maybe you don't have to be a tomboy for this, but I watched wrestling, but I didn't recognize him. My mother did, because she used to take us there all the time and walk in and she's like, that is fucking Jerry Lawler. So
Oh my
she didn't
God.
say fucking because she doesn't have the mouth like I do.
That's how you remember it.
Yeah. So it was in my mind. I'm like, what? The king.
King.
So we had to go over there and he was super nice. Like he talked to us.
Oh, he
shook
was
our
so
hands.
nice.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Well,
Wait,
that's so funny.
Is he dead?
No, he's still alive.
We lost Kenny Rogers not too long ago.
I
So I
know.
mean, like,
Yeah, that's rough. And Dolly Parton was so cute on her video that she posted on Instagram and stuff,
Yeah.
and it's heartbreaking. But I don't think that you had to be a tomboy or necessarily even into wrestling to know. If you're in Memphis, it's like you knew of 666 Mafia, you knew of Jerry the King Lawler. These were your things that you were hip to. You knew about them because you're exposed to it in your everyday life. That's how I feel.
oh yeah, I assume there are other cities that wrestling
Yeah.
was a thing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
this was the local wrestling chain or whatever, and it was
know
a
it.
big deal. It's weird. Yeah. So next and lastly on the list of vortexes for now is the Mayan ruins in Tulum City in Mexico, which was constructed on the Yucatan Peninsula about 80 miles south of Cancun during the late 13th century.
No idea it was so close to Cancun.
Right? Spring
Wow.
break.
But I'm like, take me to the Mayan ruins, please. You
Right.
guys go ahead and get drunk on. I gotta go see these ruins. Wow.
So get this, though. Scientists believe that the asteroid that hit the Earth and wiped out the dinosaurs 66 million years ago actually landed in present-day Tulum, giving the area its powerful energy.
I see that as a dark side.
But I have seen many reports of like when meteors come to Earth and stuff that stone from those meteors are putting off like an electromagnetic field that's like extreme.
Know how much you hate my tangents, but I have to go off on one. Have you ever seen my favorite movie, Creepshow? It's a movie from the 80s, clearly, and it is a compilation of horror short stories written by different authors, Stephen King being one of them. So one of the short stories that he provided for Creepshow was of a meteor that comes and hits his farmland in Castle Rock, because of course Stephen King.
Right.
Right. So he's a farmer and the meteor hits and he says he's going to get rich off this meteor that hits, right? He's going to take it to the college. He's going to get all this cash. Jordy Verrill, that's his name. He goes in there with his meteor and yeah, they're going to pay him tons of money. But he sees that it's smoking hot. So he pours a bucket of water on it, right? And he pours a bucket of water on the meteor. It splits in half. All this green shit oozes out of the meteor into his farmland. And he's like, oh no, oh Jordy Verrill, you done. And the actor playing Jordy Verrill is Stephen King himself. Yes.
This is now my new favorite show.
Oh, it's awesome. Which, by the way, Creepshow is, I guess, going to do a reboot on Shudder in May shortly. So they'll have episodes of this coming up. But you made me think of it with the meteor because he ends up, oh, God, I'm going to ruin it if I tell you. Do you want me to just shut? I can just quit right now.
No, you've gone this far.
Well, so the green stuff that oozes out of the meteor and into his farmland ends up taking over it. It grows over everything. And he touched it because he had to. And it got on his skin. So it turns him into like this monster. Like he becomes a plant, basically. And the end of the... Is that where you're going with your podcast? Does everyone turn into plant people?
Yes. How did you know?
Because Stephen King told me.
No, they actually just go to spas and have spiritual retreats. That's what's happening here. It's actually just a really nice town, like Sedona.
That is really, oh, I love Sedona. Go watch Creepshow and get the total opposite of what could have happened, I guess, if it was a horror movie from the 80s.
You would think that's what would happen if the fucking, meteor that killed the dinosaurs landed in your town. Asteroid. Sorry. But no, they just built spas around it.
Oh, love it. I absolutely love it.
And you can go there and experience all those same healing powers as all these other vortexes that we talked about. Now, what makes these places, these vortexes, not just random, amazing monuments?
Meteor shit.
Wrong. It's the thing that we've already name dropped a couple of times. It's these ley lines. And once they intersect, they create these vortexes. Now, you may be like, what's a fucking ley line? I don't get what you're talking about. Is that like a latitude and longitude type thing? Well, yes, but you're not going to actually find them on a map because they aren't actually measurable things, actually documented by science. Scientists have not found any evidence, but New Agers, psychics, and others claim to be able to sense and feel the energy from these ley lines and these resulting vortexes. The idea of these lines were first introduced in 1921 when businessmen and amateur archaeologists. I didn't know you could be an amateur archaeologist because in that case, that's us.
We are. That's us.
Yeah. I thought you had to, like Josh Gates, get a real degree or something, but...
Oh, I dig.
Cool.
And I like history.
We're on that level then. So this dude's name was Alfred Watkins. He came to this revelation as he stood on a hillside overlooking this town in England that I'm going to butcher their name. But it's like Herefordshire. But you don't say it like that, I'm sure.
He's from the Shire, is what I heard.
Yes. He's a hobbit in a hole. So he noticed that the rural countryside he was staring at had a number of ancient sites and old settlements and places of worship, all in like a straight line. Watkins later grabbed a map and he looked over it and he realized that numerous ancient sites fell in a straight trackway that formed a network of intersecting lines stretching from one end of Britain to the other.
Yes.
Many of these places' names had the syllable ley, L-E-Y, within them, so he decided to call these tracks ley lines. Ley is also a derivative of a word that's L-E-A, which means meadow or glade, which is probably why they were a part of a lot of those names.
Okay.
So these lines can be seen as straight lines from one point to the next, or some of them are kind of cupped. They follow the contour of a hill. Watkins theorized that these lines were simply lines of sight, navigational tools that were followed by past generations, like old generations. And these trails and trackways were later marked by various monuments as they moved across. In his book, Early British Trackways, Watkins argues that these lines likely were placed to serve spiritual purposes, as that's what motivated most people in those times.
Sure, yeah.
But that opened the floodgate for people to take on the idea and add all these other spiritual elements to it.
As they do.
In 1969, John Mitchell introduced the principle of feng shui landforms, which applied to ley lines as points of energy. His theory encompassed the philosophy of landforms affecting the surrounding land, specifically the lines. After publishing his theory, Mitchell's hypothesis that powerful energies emanated along the ley lines was eagerly embraced, and others began to connect the dots. Mitchell's work brought new perspective that these lines traveled around the earth, and where they intersected, one could find unique and unusual energy vortexes, are spirals of energy similar to those believed to exist throughout the human body and which are known as our chakras. Just to give you an example, Stonehenge is supposed to be the meeting place of 14 ley lines intersecting, making it like super fucking powerful energy. Others are pretty darn sure that the ley lines are somehow associated with UFO landings, and that these ancient monuments are actually a secret code laid out by aliens. Some believe these vortexes, or some people even call them wormholes, allow instant travel between worlds millions of light years away, like the portals we talked about in Egypt. However, some other theorists say ley lines are created through cracks in the tectonic plate and emanate magnetic energy. That's probably the one that we hear the most, I would say. The truth is that there is no scientific evidence. No one has ever found any evidence for energy or any kind of lines.
Do the tectonic plates even exist?
It's just a deep, deep dive into what? And while Watkins' original idea of ley lines is quite valid and rather intuitive, archaeologists have long known on a local or regional scale, roads tend to be built in more or less a straight line. So with these ley lines, are we taking the idea of magical, energy-powered, sacred places connection too far? Many scientists like to argue the point that you can make patterns from all sorts of locations, but doesn't make them hold any distinct power. The brain looks for patterns to make sense of the world, even when patterns aren't there. A good analogy is that ley lines exist in the same way that astrological constellations exist. You can draw an imaginary line connecting certain stars to form the horns of Taurus, the scales of Libra sign, or the Big Dipper. But it doesn't mean that those points were truly placed there to make that pattern.
Tell Nostradamus that.
Right? Are you going to argue with him?
I mean,
So there's a lot of researchers that think that the idea is completely bogus. They just think it's a coincidental overlapping with these monuments. The lines that Watkins drew on his map easily can be explained by chance alignments. Connecting 4 points to make a line was not difficult in a country where there are thousands of prehistoric and historic monuments, which is a good point, actually.
Wow.
Jeff Ballinger, someone we know very well, not personally, but you know. He was the author of Paranormal Encounters, A Look at the Evidence. And in that book, he discusses the supernatural significance of ley lines and agreed that there isn't enough evidence to prove their existence. Regardless of their validity, the concept of ley lines has often appeared as the explanation for paranormal events or as explanations for fantastic monuments.
Totally baffled by the fact that Jeff Ballinger does not believe in the existence of ley lines because there's not enough evidence. However, he's a ghost hunter, isn't he?
He's a paranormal researcher, and then he's like, ley lines, that's a fucking joke.
Look, I was getting all worked up, but at the same time, I'm like, I don't actually know if he's a ghost hunter or not. I know he is a researcher and he does put out a lot of information for you so that you can, okay, cool. Thanks, Jeff Ballinger. I don't have to do the research on this because you did it. And I like him for that. You know, he's somebody who would be awesome to know and be like, let me phone a friend, like Jeff Ballinger.
Yeah, definitely put him on your list. But he makes a valid point. I mean, this Watkins guy in England, was it that hard for him to connect these historic places along a trade route, basically? No, it probably wasn't. Now, how they connect to the pyramids of Giza and the Mayan ruins, that's where it gets to be like, whoa, wait a minute. You know, there has to be something to why people are choosing these locations to plant their monuments or whatever. So given that everything in existence has energy, some are physical energies such as electric fields, some are living energies such as ores, some are earth-based like the ley lines we just discussed, and then there are spiritual energies such as ghosts. With the increase in reports of hauntings and associated phenomenons in location where ley lines are thought to exist, it begs the question, is there a connection between these two forms of energy? To many paranormal enthusiasts, ley lines are also an altered form of the planet's magnetic field, which we kind of discussed before. But that's what causes the increased paranormal activity to us paranormal enthusiasts. Now, so to some, there's distinction between what is called energy ley lines and true ley lines. So they would say that Alfred Watkins from the 1920s, his were true ley lines. They were ancient straight trader tracks. And that's all that they were. But energy ley lines, no, those are something different. There are wide bands of energy crisscrossing our landscape. These lays are fractures or changes in the Earth's crust and are affected by the pull of gravity from the sun and the moon, which that's kind of what they described with Watkins too, but they're trying to differentiate them to make them more magical, I guess.
Why not?
Fuck it, we're here. The resulting faults and released water may change the nature and the intensity of the Earth's energy. So, okay, so there's an energy here, but there might be a funky fault line, or there might be underground water, and that's going to throw everything off. So hauntings are said to occur at locations where underground veins of water, such as wells, are found and can distort the Earth's energy. For example, inner Earth's vibration, and look, this is science shit I can't even explain to you, but it says the inner Earth's vibration is at 7.83 hertz. But when a water vein crosses it, say at like 200 to 500 feet below ground, this can cause stress lines. And that causes those hertz to be 250 hertz. It magnifies.
Yeah, okay.
This geomagnetic disturbance is then mirrored through every plane of existence, not just ours, but the spirit world. Spirits that resonate on the same frequency, they are drawn to that location. So one theory that ley line researcher David Conway put forth is that these spirals or vortexes are either negative, called black spirals, or positive, called white spirals. Much like the theory of like yin and yang energy, but we were talking about, you know,
a balance,
good and evil.
Yeah.
Supernatural magazine said, and I quote, "It is like a powerful magnet attracting all kinds of lower vibrating spirits, energies, or entities, and even sometimes people. These entities can then draw off the energy, feed on it, and use it to manifest. Bodmin Jail in Cornwall is a place where two such energy lines cross, and therefore they form lower energy vortex. And this, in turn, will also affect the way people behave in such places. They will be prone or influenced to lower vibrational thoughts, paranoia, anger, ego, and fear, etc. It can be a source of food to an entity to recharge their essence."
Sure.
Now, I can't read something like this and you say this is a haunted location with a bad vibe and not look
Yeah.
into it. So, of course, I got to give you a little tiny taste of this Bodmin gel. So, it is in England. It is one of the super haunted locations in England. It does act as a visitor attraction. And they do paranormal tours. It was built in 1779. So this jail, it has a long and dark history to it. So they consider this to be a negative vortex. It acted as a prison from the beginning of its start in the 1700s to 1920s. That's how long. It held public executions. There were 55 gruesome executions, including a mother. Her name was Selina Wage. Selina drowned her disabled son in a well when her new lover said he would take her only if she didn't have the child. So she ended up going to jail, and her ghost is said to wander the prison, begging women, especially pregnant ones, to forgive her. Visitors have said that their hair has been tugged and their hands have been grasped, and that's how they know that Selina is trying to make contact with them. Another ghost is that of Elizabeth Commons. She was a housemaid who fell pregnant by a fellow servant, but she was cast out in disgrace. She battered her baby to death within hours after its birth.
Oh, God.
Elizabeth was hung by being tied to a rope and thrown from the prison's roof. They didn't have a platform, I guess.
That's brutal.
So a crowd was watching during this, of course. I'm sure they loved every minute of it. Executions took place on the lower balcony after several prisoners who had been thrown off the top of the roof ended up being decapitated.
Yes, that did happen a lot. Yeah.
So where there are positive energies, there are also dark sides.
Always. A yin and a yang.
As we have seen multiple negative haunted locations that fall on these ley lines. Like we've heard, you and I, we were just talking about it a second ago. We're talking about the ancient Ram Inn as being one of those that we've seen, you know, on Ghost Adventures and everything, that they talk about the ley lines intersecting. And really coming from Stonehenge, and that this is where a succubus, right? That's the right one, right? Is it an incubus or a succubus?
No. That's so funny because, you know, Zach had messed up. Yeah. Succubus is the female. Incubus is the male.
Right. And this one's the female one, right?
Yeah, it's a succubus.
Yeah, we've heard of that one before. I believe they even tried to say the place in Oregon that they went to before, some kind of like...
Where the vortexes, is that what you're talking about?
Yes. There was multiple vortexes, and it was kind of a bad feeling, you know? So we've seen this a lot when you watch paranormal shows or listen to their stories or read up on them. And the jail was one that I had not really heard of before, but it is a common kind of thing that you run into. But with every negative kind of bad energy out there, that there are these positive energies as well, and these sacred locations that really mean a lot to people and bring them to just a place of good vibes.
Yeah. It's so very spiritual and beautiful.
All of this, I want to just absorb it all. And though science has yet to recognize the validity of these ley lines and these vortexes, there are still those who have tapped into these earth energies that don't require scientific proof. We know what that's like. Don't tell us ghosts don't exist. We've experienced it, you know?
Yeah.
You can't argue these points. And from the Druids to the various ancient civilizations that these special places meant so much to, and they've withstood thousands of years and are likely to survive so many more. There has to be something to these locations, you know, these powerful energies.
Well, fingers crossed, we could have another truck just lose its, you know, whatever, the brake gear or whatever, just lose its thing and just go sliding right off into one of those monuments. So yes, I do hope that they last.
Right, I know. And then also you wonder if a truck can just knock down one of those things, how magical were they really?
Oh, I mean, come on. It's been standing there for so long.
It's so tired.
So tired.
So that's what I got for you this weekend. That's it, really, is that there's these positive vibes out there, these spiritual locations, and I just cannot wait until we can all go and explore them again.
I have to say that, first of all, I don't know if I was hip to the idea that there were these ley lines in Sedona prior to you sending me the picture of the Bell vortex and me looking into it some more. I know we've been to Sedona and I was mesmerized. I mean, like, I think I might have even said this to you, but like, you really get a grasp on how little you are in this world when you go into a place that's this majestic. And I mean, it's breathtaking. The mountains are humongous, and you are but a pea in this world. And I don't know if I was just being captivated by the vortexes or just by the sheer beauty of it all. I had no idea of all of this until later on. It was just, to me, it was magical just to get there and to see it with my own eyes. And the moment Wendy started her story about Sedona, I'm just like, oh, it's my happy place. It was so beautiful there. I can remember us driving through the roundabouts. And of course, I'm like, yeah, I do roundabouts all the time. Wendy handles them like a pro. Like, she does roundabouts too, like all the time. But you drive through here and it's a very clearly touristy area where there's shops everywhere, but they're beautiful shops. And I love shops. Don't get me wrong. I'm all about tourist attractions. But then you have the gorgeous views of the red rock everywhere. And there were all of these things that Wendy and I wanted to do and we just didn't get to. And I wanted to ask you if you got to do any of those like aura shops where they took a picture of you and they could tell you the color of your aura. You know, I know it's all touristy stuff, but it's still fun. I mean, who wouldn't want to go and do that, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely, 100%. And I am eating up all of that. And even though I know that my children won't allow me the time to do these things, and they will very quickly get bored in a shop, I still drug them to these areas. And we walk the streets and everything. We went to also Jerome. I took them up there to take a peek at that. And then we went through Cottonwood, the historic area of Cottonwood. And they're like, yeah, looks great. Are we done? So no, I didn't get to go into any of those shops or anything like that, because I know they're like kind of like a bull in a china shop, you know? If they are interested in it at all, they're touching everything.
Yeah.
They're teenagers, but they still act like toddlers sometimes. So we didn't go into shops that were like kind of what some people would think is knick-knacky and whatnot, but it's where all the crystals are, basically, you know? But I can't take them in there because they'll pick some shit up and break it and I'll have to pay for it. So all I got to do was buy some wine. You know, that was an eventful day. And about all that I was probably really prepared to pay for anyways.
Well, wine shopping is still amazing, especially in Sedona. I mean, when Wendy and I had made it to Jerome, which was also another amazing experience, just the whole town was just beautiful, beautiful place. And I find out while we're there that that's where Maynard James Keenan has his fucking vineyard. And now he is Tool. He's Perfect Circle. I mean, this is someone that I've followed since I was a teenager, guys, and I'm turning 40 this year, if you haven't already found out from one of our previous podcasts. So it was magical all around. So, I mean, and the fact that you got wine from there, I mean, was it the wine or was it?
No, I didn't get wine from Jerome. I actually got it from Cottonwood. It's this wine that's called Arizona Stronghold. And I've had it once before at a wine festival. And they don't carry it in my local grocery store, but I do really like their wine. But no, my kids actually really loved Jerome, and we're definitely going to have to talk about Jerome another time and share our magical time there. But I really thought it was cool that the kids, when I asked them at the end of the day, always, you know, what was your favorite part of today or whatever, and they were like, Jerome was pretty cool. I like the vibe up there. And I was like, that's why you are my child. Thank you. I like the vibe up there too.
Yeah.
But it's a magical area and all these vortexes sound incredible. And if you happen to ever been to any of these vortexes, please write us at creaturesofthenight.paranormal@gmail.com and tell us your experience, and we'll share it here on the podcast with you. You can also comment on any of our forms of social media. You can direct message us, or you can comment on any of our posts throughout the week and tell us your side of the story. You know, what you experienced is what you felt. Negatives are positives. And then again, we'll talk about this on the podcast. And, we do our own little spiritual thing. Definitely into all those vibes with the crystals and the essential oils and the spirit boards and the communication and the connection. And you can find our products that we make at the Spirit Emporium, which is on Etsy, and also our website, creaturesofthenight.paranormal.com. And I think that's about it. That's all the pimping I got.
That's so funny because I never think about that, but that is what we're doing. Well, I mean, we don't have, what is it that everybody has that has a podcast?
A Patreon. We do not have a Patreon, guys, because apparently you have to pay more for that on your podcast host if you want a Patreon. So we haven't gone there yet because we have the shop and we just like your participation in the podcast to begin with.
Right.
But if you want to send us some dollars,
or if you want us to turn this into a Patreon, because there's so many hours that Wendy cuts out from her editing. That could be additional podcasts. It could just be bloopers or us just ranting and raving about additional stuff. If you do want us to turn this into a Patreon, guys, just write to us and let us know.
Or yeah, you can scream it on our social media. You guys should get a Patreon. I want bonus episodes, bonus whatever. I don't know. I do cut out a lot of side conversations. Sometimes I'm like, that was so fucking funny. We talked about it, but it was so unrelated to the story, because that's what happens in the middle of, two best friends talking about something, is it's like, oh wait, I forgot to tell you about what happened the other day. So yeah, if you want to hear those things that are cut out, or if you'd like to hear all our embarrassing moments during the podcast, we could make that a Patreon. I don't know what else you can do on Patreon. We're fine with doing lots of things, videos and whatnot of, hey, look at us. Maybe make our spiritual products. I don't fucking know. I don't know what you do on a Patreon.
I think a lot of people do buttons now. I don't know how you make buttons, but I am so into buttons and patches. So I have to figure out if that's a possibility, and then just make like buttons of our side conversations.
Don't know how that works. But I don't know. I mean, yeah, if you're interested in us starting a Patreon for more content, then you guys could always let us know and we'll figure it out. We're givers, so I'm sure we would make it something worth your while. That sounds dirty.
We are givers.
Anyways, that's the end of this whole thing. So
that's the end.
All right, that's really all I got for you.
I absolutely loved your story, by the way. I know you're wrapping this up, so I'll just let you know it was fantastic. Thank you so much, Wendy. That was great.
You're welcome.
All right, cool.
Bye.
Bye.